All right. So last time, the last lexical relation that we started to talk about was homonymy. I mentioned some superficial aspects of it. We said that homonymy is when we have more than one, when we have a word form, and that's important, word form. That form part is important. Remember that we can distinguish lexemes and word forms, but in this case, we are just talking about the forms. In this case, it can be phonological form, or it can be orthographical or written form, spelling basically. So there are that division is going to create some different types of homonyms. But in general, we can say that a homonym is several word forms, several words that share the same form, but they have very distinct and separate senses or meanings. For example, we talked about this. For example, we mentioned the word mouse. In the case of the mouse of an animal, right? In the case of the animal, that's one of the senses. But we can also talk about the sense of technological mouse, like the mouse you use for your computer, which in by this point it is very much unrelated to the animal, right? We can explain like maybe it shares the same form, it tries to mimic the form, but by this point in time, those two meanings are two completely separate meanings. The other word that I want to show you as an example is the word duck. Duck can mean two things. It can be the animal, of course, the animal, the duck, but it can also mean a verb. Do you know what verb it is to duck? Did we talk about that last time? I don't remember. I'm gonna say no. So what verb is duck? If you have a dictionary close to you, or if you can open a tab on your computers, what does duck mean as a verb?
It is not like to avoid something. I don't remember.
To what? To what something?
To avoid or something like that.
All right. And how, when you say avoid, like what? Like a homework, like avoid a problem, or avoid what?
Maybe like to avoid a situation or a person.
All right. Normally, it means avoiding, but more like a physical avoiding. Like for example, in the definition, to move your head or the top part of your body quickly down, especially to avoid being hit, right? An example, I saw the ball hurling towards me and ducked, normally ducked down, right? When someone is trying to throw something at you and you move out of the way, you get down, that means you duck, right? So that's another meaning of the word duck that is not at all compatible with the meaning of animal. Another word, very easy, rock, right? Rock can be the object, the mineral rock, but it can also be, I don't know, a type of music, right? And those two things, even though they might share metaphorical similarities, like for example, rock music is supposed to be heavy, right? So that would be a metaphorical similarity. But in other terms, in more general terms, the word rock as the object, the mineral, and the type of music, they are not quite related. We can also talk about rock, I think, from the perspective of verbs, like moving, right? And there are some expressions like "I'm gonna rock your world," right? Rock your world, like move around, something like that. And those meanings are very, very different. I think there's a Michael Jackson song, "You Rock My World," something like that. So those meanings of the word rock are very much different. Let's see, the other ones, lie in the sense of telling lies, right? But we can also have lie in the other form of the verb, which is to normally to get down, like in a like going to bed, like lie down, like put our bodies in a lower position, right? Let me see if I can find those differences. Lie. All right, you see, to be in or move into a horizontal position on a surface, right? Actually, that's the first definition that they give us. So that's one. And let's see if I can find the other one, the other verb, to tell lies. Okay, this is another lie. Something you say that you know is not true. So to tell a lie. And there should also be the verb lie. You see, to be, no, this is not it. Okay, this one. To say something that is not true in order to deceive. So all those meanings of lie are not quite related. I would say that the only ones that are related is the verb and the noun lie, like to say something that you say that is not true. But in the other sense, to be horizontal and to tell something that is not true, those two meanings are completely different. You see? So we say that lie in the sense of telling lies and lie in the sense of lying down are two homonymous words. And we would like to say that they are two different lexemes. That's why the dictionary makes a separation. It has two entries. Let's see, the other one will be the word match. So here in the comments, tell me what can be some meanings of the word match? All right, to join, yeah. What else? A game, a meeting. What kind of meeting would be a match? A relation. All right, good. We can say that joining and game, they kind of have it in relation. Joining a game or a relation, they are kind of similar, right? Because they are related with joining something. For example, in a football match, you're joining two teams together to play a game. But if I say light a match, what type of match do you think that is? All right. That's a weird choice for a Colombian. Do you usually call it like that? I call it a fósforo. All right, but yes, basically. For example, look when I write the word match and I put it on Google Images without any more description, the first images that come are these ones. You see, so this is another type of match, which has nothing to do with the other meanings of match that you just mentioned. So we can say at least that the word match, in the sense of joining together of a game, And in this case of a light like a fire match, those are completely different. And the same thing happens, or something very similar happens. Slender piece of wood, cardboard, or other flammable material tipped with a chemical substance that produces fire when rubbed on a rough or chemical prepared surface. Whoa. But yes, that's basically it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Cesar. You see, she didn't understand you. That was such a weird choice of words for a Colombian. It's from a dictionary. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I also saw that. All right, we have the other word, tire. Uh, tired. All right. So again, let me ask you that question. What are some of the normal meanings that you know for the word tired? All right. Yes, Cesar, to be exhausted. That's one of the most common meanings. Great. What can be another meaning? To lose interest. All right. Okay, Maria Fernanda, Carlos. Yes. Yes, that's the other one that I was looking for. Like a tire, like from a car, right? That's another one. That's another one of those meanings. So we can say that to be exhausted and to lose interest, they're similar actions, like to get tired of something or get tired of someone, right? To lose interest or to be exhausted of an activity. So those two meanings are related, but the one for pneumatic or for a car tire, right? A car tire, they also call it spare tire, right? Like an extra tire that you have. Those meanings are completely different. They mean completely different things. So what I want you to notice is that those meanings are so different that you cannot consider those meanings to belong to the same lexeme. The thing that we have to say is that those meanings belong to different lexemes when they are so different. So for example, the meaning of mouse as the electronic mouse is a different lexeme from the animal mouse. Duck as the animal and duck as the action of moving down are two different lexemes, even though they share the same form, because those meanings are too different. Same thing happens with rock, tire, match, and lie. So that is basically homonyms. So let's see some more aspects of homonyms. Okay, we already talked about this, lexemes of the same syntactic category, but with the same spelling. All right, we're gonna see something else. All right. So for some authors, some linguists, some people like to believe that there are different types of homonyms. So some linguists would like to say that a homonym, a true homonym, would be a word that has the same spelling and the same pronunciation. So for example, these words right here would be quote unquote true homonyms. Some other linguists, they like to distinguish between what they call homographs. And homographs are senses of the same written word. But normally, these homographs, they don't have the same pronunciation. A homograph doesn't have the same pronunciation. And some other linguists like to distinguish further homophones. And homophones are word forms that share the same phonological form, but maybe not the same written form. So that's how they distinguish the different types of homonyms. And for some other people, I mean, some of the linguists, they don't like these distinctions. They just say that there are homonyms and that's it. Because basically, the main source of description that you get in linguistics is sound, the spoken speech basically. And they don't like to pay so much attention to these little details because the main source of data should be speech, and they just call everything homonyms. But it is not harmful to distinguish for us to learn that there are some distinctions for some other linguists. So, for example, homographs. Homographs, as I just said, are words, and when I say words, please remember, I mean word form and not lexeme. So homographs are the same word that have the same spelling. Normally they have the same spelling, but oftentimes they have different pronunciations. I mean different phonological realizations, right? So one more time, homographs, same spelling, different pronunciation. Same spelling, different pronunciation. Some examples of that can be the following. All right, these words right here, they have different pronunciations in the way you pronounce the accent in those words. In some of them, the difference is in the diphthong. For example, these two. These two have different pronunciations in the following way. This one, in the sense of the weapon, you know, the one that you use to fire or shoot arrows. This one will be bow, bow. But this one is like the gesture that the Japanese and the Asian people do to show respect. They go down, they lower their heads. This would be to bow, bow. So this one, the weapon, bow, and this other one, bow. The next one, but actually, no, it's a bit bigger. I was thinking of sharing the page from a dictionary which has a pronunciation, but sometimes it is not so. It doesn't work so well when you're trying to share sound on Google Meets. So I'm not going to get so complicated. I'm just going to give you the pronunciations myself. These two, when we talk about this word in the sense of 60 seconds, we call it minute, right? A minute. A few minutes, or give me 2 minutes, give me a minute. But in the sense of extremely small, we say minute, minute. So these two, we can call them homographs because you write them the same, but you don't pronounce them the same. So minute and minute. This one will be a difference in the accent, in the stress, we call it. So object, a thing in the world, an entity, whatever, and object, to express disagreement, basically, as it says here. The difference is in the stress. In this one, the stress is in the first one, object, and the second one will be object. And these two words also, the substance that you light up to create some nice smells, that will be incense, right? Incense. But there is another meaning of the word, of the same written word, but you pronounce it very differently. You change the stress and you say incense. And when you incense something, is that you cause something or someone to become very angry. So those are the meanings of those words. So remember, the first one, bow and bow, minute and minute, object and object, incense and incense. And those meanings are different in in their pronunciation, but they are the same in the way you write them. That makes them, for some linguists, that makes them homographs. All right, another distinction that we have will be the homophones. Okay, and the homophones are normally words that are that have a completely different spelling. Spelling is not the same, but the phonological realization is basically the same. They contain the same phonemes or they contain the same sounds. For example, well, these ones are kind of self-explanatory, but right, and right, four, and four, and great, and grease, and grease. So it is also worthwhile to point out that some of these differences here or these similarities in pronunciation, they also depend on the accent or the region that the person comes from. So, for example, in the case of four, and four, there may be some differences in pronunciation depending on the dialect of the person, but in general terms, in standard terms, we would like to say that these words are pronounced exactly the same. What I mean is that in some languages or in some accents, for example, in the United States, the word and is pronounced in the same way as the word and, right? But for some other people from different dialects, these words are pronounced different. So depending on the dialect, these words can be homophones. But from the perspective of other dialects, other accents, they are not homophones because they're not pronounced the same. Some people say aunt in the United States, or they can say the same thing, and, or aunt and aunt. But that depends on the pronunciation. Is it clear? All right, so that's for homonyms. So then again, homonyms are the same word form with very different senses. And homographs, and we can distinguish between homophones and homographs. Homophones have the same pronunciation but different writing, and homographs have the same writing but different pronunciation most of the times. So that is basically homonyms. Now moving on, we have the other type of lexical relation which is called polysemy. Oh, actually, let me check if I'm doing the pronunciation correctly. Now, basically, polysemy. Some pronunciations say polysemy, and some others polysemy. Let's check with the dictionary, so I don't get too lost. All right, yes, as you can see, the accent is in two different places. So this will be polysemy, and this one polysemy. But it's the same word, essentially. So I guess there is no right and wrong. So polysemy is very similar in the basis. It's kind of similar to homonymy. With polysemy, we are talking about a word form that has many different senses. But different from homonymy, in polysemy, the senses are judged to be related. They are judged to be related or similar, or they belong to the same field. So in those cases, we say that it is one lexeme with different senses. which is different from homonymy, because in homonymy you have to say that we have different lexemes with obviously different senses. But in polysemy, we say that there is one lexeme with many senses, and those senses, even though they are well different, they are related. So they belong to the same word. All right? So as it says here, right, senses of the same word that are judged to be related often by the metaphorical extension. We will see what metaphorical extension is. Okay, it says the criteria for relateness includes speaker's intuitions and what is known about the historical development of the items. That means the words. Basically the etymology of the words. So, let's see some examples of that. All right, in this case, we have different representations for the same word. So for example, we say that this is a chocolate bar. We say that this is a bar. These are bars on a chart. And these are bars on a jail cell, right? For example, when they say there is a common expression like the put a criminal behind bars, that means to put him in jail. Put him behind bars. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, behind bars. It means in prison. All right. Even though these are very different kinds of bars, as you can clearly see, different kinds of bars, they share some similarities, whether it is a physical similarity or the use or the shape. The three examples are different kinds of bars. So we don't say that these meanings, chocolate bar, chart bar, and cell bar, we don't say that they are different lexemes. We say that they belong to the same lexeme. So these are different senses. These three are different senses of the same lexeme bar. You see how it is different from homonymy? In homonymy, we say that the senses are totally different or too separate to declare that they are the same lexeme. But in polysemy, in this type of lexical relation in polysemy, we say that the senses are close to each other, very similar in meaning, in meaning, and thus we say that they are related and they belong to the same lexeme. Okay, water break. Our voice is cracking now. All right. So any questions so far before we see some examples? All right. Give me a second. All right. So for example, in the sentences that we have here, the meanings of the words in question are very similar. So for example, in this one, I am analyzing the word lamb and lamb here. So if I say my sandwich had some lamb and the lamb is outside eating some grass, I have two distinct senses of the word lamb. In this case, it is the meat. In the first one, in this one, it is the meat from the lamb, the meat from the lamb. And in this one, it is the animal, right? So even though those two things are not exactly the same, because it's not the same to talk about the meat of the animal and the actual animal, they're not the same thing. Those meanings are so related that we say that they belong to the same lexeme. In the second one, I'm gonna take the word. I'm gonna take the word Honda, right? Honda and Honda. All right, so in the first one, Honda. Uh, Honda has a line of automatic production. In this case, I am talking about Honda as the company that produces the cars. It's a little bit more abstract because it's not a car itself. It's the company that produces the cars. But if I say my cousin crashed into a car on his new Honda, right? His new Honda. In this case, I mean Honda as the specific car, the specific car that comes from a brand, which is Honda. You see? So again, these two meanings are kind of different, but they are similar enough or related enough that you say that they belong to the same lexeme. And in this last one, we hooked a lot of bats in the river. So in this one, I'm gonna signal the word hook and hook, right? So in this one, we hooked a lot of bass in the river. So it means they caught a bunch of fish or a type of fish in the river. And the second one would be that quote really hooked me or really hooked the audience. That means grab the attention of the audience. And in the first one, we are talking about grabbing or catching fish. And in the second one, we're talking of catching or grabbing attention. You see? So the meanings, even though they are distinct, again, they are distinct meanings, they are related enough. And this one's, we can say that they're more metaphorical. They're metaphorically related, like catching the attention, hooking the attention, right? And in this one is more like physically hooking some fish. So the meanings are related enough that we declare that these two words, hook and hook, they belong to the same lexeme instead of different lexemes. All right, so far. Any questions? Right, not so far. Well, now that I notice, let's. This will be an extra. The word bass. This is a word that is a homonym of the instrument bass. The one that looks like a guitar, but only has like 4 strings. So this one will be bass, and the type of fish will be bass. They will be homographs, but not really homophones. All right, so that's one thing. So moving on. Okay, so these two elements, the homonyms and polysemy, or homonymy and polysemy, these two lexical relations are important in the way that people produce and organize the dictionary. So the dictionary is supposed to be a reflection of our mental lexicon. Remember that the lexicon, the mental lexicon, or the lexicon in general, is the collection of vocabulary from a language. So the dictionary is supposed to be a reflection of the lexicon. It's supposed to emulate the lexicon in a physical form. So how can we organize the lexicon, or how can we deal with words which have more than one sense? How do we deal with that? So what we would like to say is that the senses of the words that are polysemous or that come from the lexical relation of polysemy, they are grouped together, and the senses of the words that are homonymous or that exhibit homonymy are separated in the lexicon. So I'm going to show you specifically with some examples from dictionaries, and this is going to be so much clearer. But basically, homonymy and polysemy are important in the organization of the dictionary. So we say that generally speaking, polysemous senses, and this one, polysemous or polysemous senses, I think it's polysemous senses, they are grouped together under the same word, because we say that it is the same lexeme. And in this one, homonymous words, they are given separate entries in the dictionary. Those entries, we call them lexical entries, basically a space in the dictionary. For example, right, the word hook. As you can see, this one will be the Collins English Dictionary from 2000, right? So various senses of the word hook. So in this case, as you can see, hook, one lexeme, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 senses that are related. You see, they are related. But since they are related, we put them together. So, for example, a piece of material, usually metal, curved or bent, and used to suspend, catch, hold, or pull something. Short for fish hook. So as you can see, fish and hook related. A trap or a snare. So similar to this one because it's kind of a trap to catch something. Something that attracts or it is intended to be an attraction. Something resembling a hook or design in the design. Sharp or bent or angled in a geological formation. For example, a river. When a river is bent in a certain way, we say that it hooks. Sharply curved, spit of land. In boxing, for example, a short swinging blow. For example, when there is a type of punch in boxing that looks like a hook because the arm is making a hook shape. So we say that it's similar to this. All right. And this other sentence, hooker, unrelated in this case, hooker 1 and hooker 2. As you can see, this one right here, this hooker 1 is a different lexeme from hooker 2 because the meanings are supposed, or the dictionary, the experts judged that the meanings of these two words are too far away to be considered the same lexeme. So in this one, hooker 1, a commercial fishing boat using hooks and lines instead of nets. Number 2, a sailing boat of the west of Ireland, formerly used for cargo and now for pleasure, sailing, and racing. And hooker 2 talks about a person or thing that hooks in US and Canadian slang. A draft of alcoholic drink, a prostitute. In rugby, the central forward of the front row of a scrum whose main job is to hook the ball. So, in these two examples, the meanings of the word hooker and these other meanings of the word hooker, they were judged to be so different that they separated them. The people that made the dictionaries separated hooker 1 from hooker 2 because they judged that the meanings are so different that they don't belong together. So this would be one lexeme and another lexeme. Different from the first example. In this case, these different senses belong to the same and one lexeme. So we don't say that this is one lexeme, this meaning is one lexeme, this meaning is another lexeme. No, we say that all of these meanings belong to the same hook lexeme, which is different from here, in which the word has different senses that are too far away. In this case, it is a boat. In the other sense, it is more like a person. So they are unrelated. All right. Other examples, let me show you, of polysemy. All right, for example, the word column. The word column, we can say an upright pillar, typically it's cylindrical, supporting an arch, entablature, or other structure standing alone as a monument. So as you can see, a pillar. But there is another sense, a vertical, roughly cylindrical thing. So that's another sense of column. This one, an upright shaft for controlling a machine or a vehicle. These ones are very much related. Very much related. So there is one sense, and inside this sense, there are other senses that are very much related. But look at this sense, a vertical division of a page or text. This is moving a little bit far away from these other meanings. But if you see a vertical division, so the shape of the text, for example, in a newspaper, the meaning of that is a vertical portion of text. It is similar metaphorically. It is similar in shape to this normal meaning of column. That's why the dictionary, in this case it is the Oxford Dictionary, they put the word column or this sense of column together in the same entry. And we can see even more, a vertical arrangement of figures or other information, right? Vertical arrangement. So there is a meaning involved, verticality. A regular section of a newspaper or magazine devoted to a particular subject, written by a particular person, column, or one or more lines of people, as you see, lines. So there is a shape. There is a shape related to the word column. We walked in a column, for example. So as you can see, this will be an example of homonymous word. A polysymous word. It is one lexeme, in this case the word column, and it has many different senses that are related. So we say that these senses of the word column are polysymous because they work together as part of the same word. But there is another, the other example that I want to show you is this one, the word bank. And we already worked with this word bank in the workshop for sense. So as you can see, there is the first meaning of bank. So bank, the land alongside or sloping down to a river or lake. So that is one meaning of bank. The other meaning of bank, a long, high mass or mound of particular substance. So, similar to this type of bank, like an accumulation of something. The second, this will be another one. Another one belonging to this one. An elevation in the seabed or a riverbed. So basically, related to rivers and water. Another one, a transverse slope given to a road, railway, or sports track to enable vehicles or runners to maintain speed round a curve. Basically shaped like a mound, something like this. That would be a bank. But there is another sense of the word bank. And as you can see, bank 2. This one is bank 1. This one is bank 2. A financial establishment that uses money deposited by customers for investment, pays it out when required, makes loans at interest, and exchanges currency. Like a bank account, a stock of something then available for use when required, a blood bank. So related, these are all related. So the senses of this bank are not so much related to this senses of bank, which have more to do with earth formations and rivers, and this one has more to do with financial entities or an entity that has an amount of something. So because these two senses are so different, the dictionary separates the entries into bank 1 and bank 2. So that means two different lexemes with different unrelated senses. All right, so with that, we finish our introduction and our presentation for lexical relations, which complements the class of last week.